My name is Sean Clerkin. I'm a spokesperson for Citizens United Against Public Service Cuts. We've been engaged in occupying banks, basically chasing after politicians, and all about calling for public service cuts to be opposed and for needs-based budgets to be set, and that can be done very easily because there is an alternative to the cuts, and that is to tax the rich. Hi, we're coming in. We just want to. Is Michael Lewis here? Right. Is everybody in? Right. Let's go in. Yeah. Citizens United Against Public Service Cuts, and this is an occupation of the Scotland office. Can you get the placards out, please? This is an occupation of the Scotland office. Everybody take a placard? Right, well, take a placard.
Sorry, got some guys in the stair, tax the rich, save public services.
What we are saying very clearly here today is we are saying that there must be no cuts to public services in Scotland. We want the various levies and revenues to be used. We want the revenues and we want the fossil fuel levy. We want the foreign powers of £5 billion. We want the excise duty, corporation tax to be.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right. Yes. This is an occupation, and we're occupying this. We're occupying the Scotland office here. And the bottom line is, we want these cuts to stop. We're saying very clear to the Scottish Government there is no need to cut the budgets, to cut education, to cut health service, to cut the various public spending. We are demanding that a needs-based budget is set by the Scottish Government. If we can get the revenues, we're saying to the Liberal Democrat Conservative coalition, release the revenues and the tax raising powers for Scotland, and we can have first-class public services. There is no need to cut public services at all. So we're saying to the SNP government as well, £4 billion you're preparing to cut over the next 4 years. Don't do it, because you should have the revenues to basically. You've got a mandate from the Scottish people who voted you in, and there's a clear majority to oppose public service cuts. Is that right, folks?
Yes.
No cuts.
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 No
cuts. There's no need to cut public services in Scotland, because we are saying to the Conservative coalition, give the tax raising powers to the Scottish Parliament, give the levies, give the excise duty, give the £5 billion of borrowing powers, and give the Crown Estate revenues worth billions and millions, and that should be given to the Scottish people, so that there are no public service cuts. And we're saying very clearly to Michael Moore, we're saying very clearly from Citizens United Against Public Service Cuts, there should be no cuts to Scottish public services, and that the revenues and the taxes and the excise duties should be given to the Scottish Government, so there's no cuts in public services, so that needs-based budgets are set. And as I indicate very clearly, we're here to demonstrate today, but not to intimidate any members of staff or anything like that. We're here non-violent, peaceful protest, people who are dispossessed and low-paid jobs, or unemployed, and pensioners, and we're saying no to public service cuts. And that's what we're saying very, very clearly, and this occupation will continue. And I'm just letting you know that very, very clearly, that this occupation is going to continue.
Well, I'm sorry to say you'll have to move.
Well, we're not moving.
This is a staff area, so
we're not moving.
Can we make it very clear that I've never heard in my long life, I'm now 75, I've never heard the likes of people going to close nursery schools. That is shocking. One of my areas of take part, and there's been a demonstration of local tenants, and it's disgraceful that they should even think about closing preschool education. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what area it's in. It's just an act against humanity.
And another thing is, they're closing 2 primary schools where I live, they're closing libraries, they're closing down adult daycare centres, and they're doing that in Renfrewshire, and doing it in East Renfrewshire, and they're also closing down the Accord Centre in Glasgow, and this is all due to the cuts and basically people have been dumped in community centres, and basically, well, here's a room, take it, and their needs are not being met. The weak and the powerless are being dumped upon. We are here to speak up for them. The pensioners, the unemployed and low-paid workers here today are here to speak up for them for Citizens United against public service cuts, and we are not leaving until we get Michael Moores on the phone just now. We want Michael Moores, the Secretary of State for Scotland, to phone us right now to tell us that he's going to give the tax raising powers to the Scottish Parliament. He's going to give the fossil fuel levy, he's going to give the borrowing powers of 5 billion, the Crown Estate revenues, the excise duty, the corporation tax to be given to the Scottish people through the Parliament so that we can preserve first-class public services in Scotland without any cuts. That's what we are here, and we're going to continue this occupation until that happens. We are fighting these cuts, and we're going to stay here in this occupation of the Scotland office, the bastion of Westminster Conservative Liberal Democrat power, and we are here to protest against the cuts that they are inflicting on Scotland from London. It's absolutely ridiculous and uncalled for. No cuts! No cuts!
No
cuts!
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just made it, sir. Just made it.
Afternoon, sir.
Okay, how are we this morning?
First class, excellent.
Excellent, okay. Obviously, you'd like to sort of protest this morning.
Protest against the cuts.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's fair enough. We're more...
From the Conservative government to give the Scottish government, and we want the Scottish government to stop imposing cuts on all public services, and essentially we want a needs-based budget, and stop the closure of schools and nurseries and swimming baths and swimming pools and libraries and all the rest of it. These cuts have got to stop, because we must protect the poorest in our society, the most vulnerable in our society. It's the mark of a civilised society. We want an end to the greedy society that we currently have. Thank you.